Welcome. You're watching a broadcast from My Mindful Way of Life. I'm Dr. Ursula Kledge. We're going to be talking about mindfulness today. There's been a great deal in the news lately about mindfulness meditation. What exactly is it and how can it help? Well, mindfulness meditation is a process of cultivating awareness of the present moment non-judgmentally, without attachment to the shoulds and ought tos and the ways we believe that things should go and don't always go. There are many ways to practice mindfulness through formal meditation, but today we're going to talk about day-to-day mindfulness, specifically in parenting. So now, how can it help? Mindfulness can assist us in developing a sensitivity to and appreciation for others' needs. We can tell how this may play a role in parenting. Most parents would agree that nowhere are they more challenged as much to adapt day to day in the face of ongoing changes in the growth and development of their child's minds and bodies and relationships with them. In fact, it seems that just when you have it all figured out, your child grows on to another stage and your relationship with them changes, calling for more adaptation. Or perhaps you feel like you've got it down and you have another child with an entirely different set of needs. Well, parenting is demanding work for sure. It's not for the faint of heart. Well, one mother has shared her experiences on parenting in a book, in a thought-provoking way. Jennifer Laurent, author of Excerpts from a Heart of a Mom, this book, wears many hats. As a single mom, a yoga instructor, and a life coach. In fact, in the past, Jennifer's experiences in the social work and ER settings and other settings had helped her be able to help people undergoing crisis, helping moms and children and families navigate difficult traumas. Now, in her book, Heart of a Mom, Laurent poses 25 concepts of conscious parenting. We are really happy to have her here with us today. It's a book of encouragement through which Laurent supports moms to find their balances and embrace the challenges of parenting. Jennifer, I understand this book started as a gift to your son.
Yeah, so well, first of all, it's great to be here with you. Thank you for having me. So yes, when I got pregnant with my son, I just had this continuous feeling and intention in my mind and in my heart that I wanted to do things differently than I had seen other people do things, differently than I had been parented. I just had this really positive and centered intention that I was holding in my mind. And so I began writing notes at some point. My son was probably about 6 months old, and I just started to write notes about the way I was doing things, some of the interactions I was having, some of the communications I was having with my son at a very early stage. And I would just write them in my iPhone. I would write things down as they came to me. And eventually that just got so long that I started, taking notes on notepads and things like that. And when he was about 18 months old or so, I decided that I was going to create the book, which was really just, in my mind, going to be just for him. I thought it'd be a really amazing gift to give to him at some point when he was older, to just see, how I parented and why and the reasons, I did the things I did. But then as the book started to come together, I realized that it was something that I really wanted to share with mothers everywhere, and kind of gift as an offering from me, a mom to another mom. So that's sort of the history of the book.
Well, it's never too early to start, is it? I like your chapter on embracing the power of the mind-body connection. As a psychologist, I see people every day that are disconnected from their bodies and what it's telling them. I love the connection you make between the mindfulness yoga and resetting your nervous system, something you started prenatally.
Yes, I mean, I honestly felt so connected to my son throughout my pregnancy. I felt like I was communicating with him and he was communicating with me. I felt like I was learning his personality, even while he was, you know, inside me, and I hadn't gotten the chance to really see him yet in physical form. Um, but he's everything that I was learning when I was pregnant with him. I knew he was going to have this really silly sense of humor. It was very obvious, you know, while I was pregnant that was, you know, going to be a part of who he was. And I knew that he was going to be really determined and have his own way of doing things on his own time schedule. And it's exactly who he is. So it's really neat what you can kind of key into and learn about if you are mindful and do find a way to enter.
Jennifer, what you just mentioned reminds me of a saying that I frequently use, and that's that it's a practice and not a perfect. And whether it's a yoga practice, a meditation practice, or a parenting practice, that's important to remember. Balance of more formal practice, such as meditation or yoga, with the life meditation is where we get to really practice the acceptance of the present moment.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, children really are a gift, and there, you know, moments of lessons and wisdom and ways for me to be a teacher, but also ways for me to be a student. And so there's really, you know, there's no better, well, I don't want to say better because I think that implies a little bit judgment, but there's really, it's just an amazing gift to have a child present in your life.
You know, Jennifer, one thing that really speaks to me in this book is your statement that the journey is our child's and not ours. That makes me think about a poem by Khalil Gibran on children. Your children are not your children. They are with you, yet they belong not to you. You may give them your love, but not your thoughts, for they have their own thoughts. And anyone who's ever been a parent recognizes that our children and what we can do and say for them are separate from what they do, need, and want. And it's important for us to be able to hold their needs in that space while continuing to parent and guide and coach them.
Yeah, and I love Khalil Gibran, and I'm so happy that you brought that in there. Yeah, you know, and it's hard as a parent to really accept and allow for that separation, and for our children to really take their own path and, you know, find out their own lessons and make their own mistakes and do all of those things that we really need to let them do. But as a parent, it's a challenge because we love our children so much. And, you know, in a sense, they're a part of us because we birth them as mothers. And that in and of itself is an amazing connection. But really, are they're gifted to us. You know, we are here to protect and support and to really just be there for them as they go on their journey. And I think it's a key component for parents to really allow for that and allow for that space for our children.
You know, as parents, I think that we all want to bring more mindfulness into our day-to-day living with the understanding that perhaps that would make things more pleasant and simpler and just more relaxing for the whole family. But there are some challenges, I know myself, even having a toddler and a teen, in those situations where it's not so easy to be mindful. Perhaps it's the tantrum at the grocery store that's unexpected, or maybe the morning routine that is always pressed for time, or the evening ritual when we're really tired. What advice might you give to parents in those situations?
Yeah, you know, there's a couple things. I think that first of all, a meditation practice or whatever is meditation for you? You know, it might be that your morning cup of coffee is your meditation. It might be that you actually sit and meditate. It might be that you write in a journal when you wake up. Whatever allows you to take a moment to ground and center and just connect with yourself, I think that sets the tone for the day. And so in those moments when the milk's run out or there's a tantrum or you're rushing around, you can at least connect back to something that happened that morning. You can recall that moment of center, that feeling of peace, and bring that forth. I think the more you do that, the easier it is to access. And so it is important to really to take that time and center and feed our souls, feed our hearts, so that we're in practice of being at center and being at peace. But another tip, I think, especially with the tantrums and, you know, as kids get older, maybe it's back talk. You know, my son is going to be 6, and so I'm starting to experience a little bit of that. I think, you know, I learned early on with my son how important touch is for him. You know, I learned early on when he would have a tantrum, which really was very few and far between because I keyed into exactly what he needed. He really needed a hug. He really needed me to reach out to him and let him know that he could fall apart and that I would have him and I would support him and that he didn't have to worry. He could just completely lose it and he would be in mom's arms and I would take care of the world for him. And as I thought about that, because it took me a couple times to learn that, but once I keyed into it, it really, the second I would just forget my own frustration, forget my own anxiety, or anger, or whatever was going on because there was a tantrum happening, as soon as I would let go of that and just reach out and grab for him, you could feel him just melt, and you could feel him just feel relief and this feeling of acceptance that he had. And I just think that it's really important for parents to key into what our kids are really asking for when they are acting out or when they are tantruming or whatever it is. I think they're really just looking for support and just looking to know that in their moment of frustration, we're going to have their backs. We're not going to get frustrated too. We're not going to pour on our anxiety on top of their anxiety. We're really just going to hold space for them. And I think that that is something that can really help parents and children alike get through those difficult moments.
The idea of holding a safe container for our child's emotions as well as our own is an important practice. Some would say it's crucial. And I think you being able to do that in that example that you gave about holding your son physically and the importance of that just speaks to your own practice as a parent, as a mother, as a professional. Jennifer, I know that one question we've had posed from our readers is, how can we catch ourselves before we act when we may be repeating some of the same things we experienced in our own parenting? And you're quite frank about your own experiences and having grown up and how you were parented in your book. Is there something you can suggest to some of the people that may be watching this video on how to catch themselves, a tool perhaps?
Yeah, you know, I think we all make mistakes. I know I'm making mistakes. Our parents made mistakes. And I think the important thing to remember is we got what we needed. And we don't need to look at the way we were brought up and the bad moments and the things that we wish didn't happen as bad things. We can really look at them as things that we needed to get us to where we are. And if we can look at it that way and just be willing to allow the feelings to arise and allow ourselves to feel whatever emotions, whatever comes up, whether it's anger or sadness or anything, as parents, if we can be willing to let that surface, at that point we can make change. We can transition and we can find a way to do it differently. And so yeah, I think that's a very huge component for conscious parenting because at, what I learned a long time ago in my social work training is that, the times that we had trouble when we were younger, if age 4 was a really hard age for us, maybe there was a divorce, maybe there was a death, something happened where we experienced a traumatic event or a difficult life experience, that could be an issue when our child is then 4 and some of that starts to play out. And so there are definitely ways that we as parents can really key into our own path and our own history in order to be conscious of our children and help create a different experience for them.
There's a part in your book where I think you titled it, Sometimes It Is About Us. And that was really interesting because when we're parenting, especially in difficult situations, I think it's easy for the focus to become very external, both on the child and the situations around it, or what the child may be doing or saying. But your statement calls to us a need to attend to our own self, our own anxieties or worries or frustrations or just even fatigue from the day. So Jennifer, one of the things that I'm going to encourage our readers to do when they pick up a copy of your book is really just keep it on the nightstand. This is not the kind of book that I feel you need to pour through 20, 100 pages at once. This is the kind of book that takes a little bit of reflection. So I've kept it close to me and just read a chapter and let some of the advice sink in. And I use that word advice loosely because one of the things that I appreciate is the way that you have brought up some concepts of conscious parenting, and it really doesn't direct your parenting style specifically. So that these are not techniques specifically that people would apply, like using timeout or not, but they are concepts that can be applied whether you use timeout or other approaches.
Thank you. Thank you for noticing that. I wrote the book specifically in that way so that it was accessible for parents everywhere. I mean, we're so busy and so overwhelmed with information and already hard on ourselves and thinking we're doing everything wrong. And it's sometimes hard to read things, I think, that make you feel like you're doing things even more wrong than you thought you were already. And so honestly, I wrote the book as an offering. I wanted it to be a gift, one mom to another, one friend to a friend, just, just for people to think, to just, encourage a more conscious state of parenting, reflect on the concepts that I've written about, come up with your own concepts from there, take it to another level, just use it as a platform to be more present and to be more allowing for our children to be who they are and live the message and the life that they are here to live, because they really do have a beautiful message that they're coming in with. And if we can allow them to express it, I think our children, that they have the ability to change the world.
Jennifer, I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule out there in Southern California to come talk to us on conscious parenting. I want to encourage everybody to check out Jennifer's blog, livethroughtheheart.com, where you can get more information on not only parenting, but issues related to living daily stress-free life.
Thank you very much for having me. Have a great day.
We look forward to dialogue with all of you listeners who are invited to post comments and further questions at mymindfulwayoflife.com. We're starting a series on parenting and celebration of the upcoming Mother and Father's Days. You can receive updates by signing up for our newsletter and following us on Facebook and Twitter. I hope you enjoyed learning about parenting as a spiritual practice.